and welcome to a special edition of our Family Faith activity. As you notice, I may be wearing a shirt that has little pumpkins and candy corn on it for Halloween, and Halloween is a really great fun holiday, but I'm going to talk about something that happens the day after Halloween. November 1st is All Saints Day, and one of my favorite days of the year because it celebrates the saints. And anyone who knows me knows I am passionate about the saints. I just think they're so cool. I'm wearing like half of the Communion of Saints on my neck. I have a lot of saint medals that are very near and dear to my heart. But what is All Saints Day and how do you become a saint? So we're going to focus on those things today. When you think about a saint, what comes to mind? Probably maybe a picture of an old priest or a nun with a little circle on their head, a halo on their head. Maybe somebody who walked around in a monastery with their hands piously folded and praying 24/7. And there were some saints that were like that, and they're great people, and we need their prayers and their intercession. However, when you think about a saint, saints are basically ordinary people like you and I with extraordinary faith. And I think that's a really cool thing for us to know and a really great thing for us to understand, that anybody can be a saint. And actually, we all are part of the Communion of Saints. You probably have heard this term. It's part of the Apostles' Creed. It's one of the things we believe. We believe in the Communion of Saints. Well, the Communion of Saints isn't just all the people that are in these books and all the people who are canonized. The Communion of Saints is every person who is baptized into the church, who's baptized into God's family, is part of the Communion of Saints. We all are in union with God and the saints. As you see, communion, the word union is in there. So that's something for us to think about, that we are all part of the Communion of Saints. So what makes the canonized saints different than us? Well, there's the only thing that really makes it different is that they are canonized, and we'll talk about that in just a second. When we think about saints and we think about who can become a saint, one of the popes who brought so many people to understand saints is John Paul II. Saint John Paul, and he's actually a saint himself, he put together this book, and in this book, pretty big book, contains all of the people that Saint John Paul had either beatified or canonized as saints during his tenure as Pope. And it's amazing because there are some really great nuns and priests and religious in this book. But this book is filled with so much more. It's a lot of people who are just like you and I, lay people, people who work for the church, people who were mothers or fathers, brothers, sisters. So we can learn so much from what John Paul II taught us about sainthood. Another thing, and this is really neat, I have another book, and this is called Saintly Youth for Modern Times. Saintly Youth for Modern Times. And in this book, it's filled with all kind of saints, but the oldest one is 20 years old. They're 20 years old and younger. These are teenagers, children who had such great faith at a young age that they are canonized or beatified as saints. So when we look at that, it's not just religious who can be saints, it's all of us. So let's look back to the steps to becoming a saint. Now, just because there's steps to becoming a saint, does that mean that the church makes saints? No, only God can make saints. But the church recognizes people who had special faith to be great role models for us to be canonized as saints. So there are steps. They can't just all of a sudden somebody wake up one day and say, hey, I think this person was really great, so they should be a saint. I'm going to go call Rome. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of steps and procedures that go into it, but it kind of starts out as an idea that way. If somebody's led a really great life and has been a great role model, the people around who know them might think, wow, we really learned how to become closer to God through this person. This person helped us become closer to God. So then their life gets to be examined. And if the people gather around and think that this person has a cause to become a saint, then they can go to the first step of being a saint, which is called a servant of God. So that these people, maybe it's relatives, maybe it's friends, co-workers of the person that they feel should be a saint, they gather all kind of information and interviews, and they send that information to the Vatican. And then the Vatican will decide if that cause is worthy to be considered for sainthood, and if it is, then that person will be declared a servant of God. That's the first step and becoming a saint. Now, after you're a servant of God, the Vatican will start to do research and look into the life, and the Vatican will start interviewing the people who knew the person up for the cause of sainthood. And if they feel that there's enough information and enough that has gone on in that person's life to be a saint, then they will say, yes, we are going to continue to follow this cause and research this cause for the second step of becoming a saint, which is a venerable. So you may hear of some of these people called venerable, like Venerable Pierre Toussaint, who is one of our partners in faith in our religious education program. So the second step is a venerable, and that means the Vatican has researched this person to think, yeah, there's enough about this person that we think they can become a saint. So during the venerable stage, they continue to do that research, and they learn more about that saint. And during that time, that person has had a miracle attributed to their intercession, whether it's through a relic or whether it's through the family praying for the intercession of that saint to go to God for whatever the cause is, and a miracle happens, then we go to the third step. And the third step, if I can get my paper, is to be declared a blessed. Now, you're declared a blessed in the church when one miracle has been proven. And it's not just like a little fluky miracle. They go into the research, they talk to the doctors. It has to be something that no way it could have happened if it wasn't for the intervention and the intercession of a saint, or with God's help to cure that illness or whatever that would be that would cause that miracle. And if that miracle is proven, then they become a blessed. And there's a lot of very famous blesseds around. Blessed Francis Sealos, for example, actually lived in the city of Pittsburgh at one time with St. John Newman. He now is on the process of becoming a saint, and he only needs one more miracle, but he already had one miracle attributed to his name. Blessed Kateri Tekakwitha is another one. She already has one miracle to her credit, and hopefully another one will come and she can be canonized a saint as well. So that brings us to our fourth step, which I kind of already said. You get to be a saint, and what's so cool about it is you get 2 miracles to your intercession. So every one of these people who have been put up for a cause for sainthood, if they've had 2 miracles attributed to their intercession, then they can be declared a saint and be canonized and to be recognized as a canonized saint in the Catholic Church. So those are the steps to becoming a saint. First step is servant of God. Second is venerable. Third is a blessed. And then the fourth stage is finally becoming a saint. So let's think about that. There are some people around who maybe have had a really great life. And I'll give you a good example. We're all Pittsburghers. We know Roberto Clemente. Well, a few years back, people started to bring up a cause to see if he could be considered a servant of God and go through the process to becoming a saint. I don't believe it's gone too far, and I think it's kind of stalled. I don't think he's to the point of it getting to Rome. However, something was brought out of that I think is real interesting. We all know he was a great baseball player, but how many people know that Roberto Clemente was a really great Catholic first? He was a great Catholic, and he was an excellent example of a practicing Catholic who believes strongly in his faith, who just happened to be an extraordinary baseball player as well. So most people think of him as a great baseball player, a great baseball player who just happened to be a Catholic, but actually he was a really great Catholic who happened to be a baseball player. And whether he ever goes through the process and becomes a saint, that's great, but we know he was a really great Catholic who did so much for other people. So saint or not, he's a great role model for us, not only as how to be a great ball player, but more importantly, how to be a great Catholic. Another person I want to introduce you to, and you may have seen this in the news, it's a young man by the name of Carlos Acutis, and he was a young boy, and here's a picture of him if you could see. And Carlo died of leukemia at the age of 15 in 2005 or 2006. And when he died, the year before he died, he actually started a web page that documented Eucharistic miracles. And what was really neat about that is he called it like a virtual museum of all of these miracles that happen through the Eucharist. and he wanted this to kind of be a legacy. He was actually a tech wizard, and he was somebody for our generation, a young kid who believed so strongly in his faith and wanted to share his love of the Eucharist and the miracles of the Eucharist to everybody in the world, and started this webpage. His suffering from leukemia, he offered that up to his faith into God, and as a sign of what we can go through. So Carlo, what's really interesting is he died in the early 2000s, but in 2013 he was considered a servant of God, our first step. Then 5 years later, after they did the research in 2015, he was considered a venerable, the second step to becoming a saint. And just a few weeks ago, on October 10th of this year, of 2020, he was beatified. A miracle was attributed to his intercession, and he is now a blessed. And so here he is, 2020, only less than 20 years from his death, that he's already 3 steps into the process of being a saint. And he's a young kid and somebody that can be a great role model for all of our young people that we have today. So that's just a little summary of the steps to being a saint and a little bit about saints. If you ever want to read up on saints or want to borrow any of my books, please stop and see me, because I'm very happy to share. So have a great All Saints Day, and I want you to please stay safe, take care, and God bless. Bye.